If you're looking to learn how to negotiate a real estate deal, particularly when it comes to buying right, knowing what the true value of a property is before you commit to the purchase, then I made this just for you. But before we begin, click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell because I post cool stuff like this each and every week and you don't want to miss it. Let's do it. Hi, my name is Matt Theriault. I am CEO of Epic Real Estate, where we show people how to invest in real estate with an emphasis on retiring early. And that predominantly happens as a result of finding not just good deals, but the right deals for you. And more times than not, those deals are created during negotiations between you and the seller. Now, last session, we looked at your intention with each deal that you consider and how important it is. How vital it is to each deal that you do and you reaching your real estate investing goals and ultimately your early retirement. Now, I've put links to this entire series, How to Negotiate a Real Estate Deal, below in the description. So to determine an accurate property value, you must first know what makes up a property's value. And it looks like this. It's a very simple diagram. And you've heard this before. Location, location, location. The majority of a property's value is in its location. And it's important to understand that it is where it is. Unless you pick up the house and move it somewhere else, you nor the seller have any control over this portion of the value. The next largest portion of a property's value is in the size of the property. And again, unless the seller plans to add or subtract square footage prior to the sale, it too is what it is. You nor the seller have any control over this portion of the value either. Now, the last portion of a property's value, not to mention the smallest portion of its value, lies in its condition. Now, this is where the seller does have control over the value. And it will be a property's condition most commonly referenced in their negotiating to try and influence your opinion of the value so that you'll pay more. You'll hear things from sellers like, I just remodeled the kitchen 10 years ago, or the tile in the bathroom, it's imported from Italy, or I replaced the roof 30 years ago and it's never leaked, of which all may be true or not. But in most cases, these factors have very little impact on a property's value. So don't fall for the green shag carpet is made of silk trick. It's still green shag carpet. If you agree to not fall for this trick, let me know by smashing the like button. What's most important is, what's the property worth to you? What's your desired outcome for buying this property? And will it help you achieve that? That's what's most important. The seller has their opinion of value, and you, the buyer, have yours. And then the realtor has theirs, and the bank has theirs, and the neighbor has theirs, and the seller's cousin has theirs, and so on. I point that out to reveal that determining a property's value is not an exact science. A property's value is nothing more than an opinion. Although it may be an educated one, some more than others, but they're still opinions. Here's what I mean. If you were to line up 10 different licensed certified appraisers to come up with an official value of any given property, you're going to get 10 different answers. And here's why. Because they'll each use market data they deem important and as well use a combination of appraisal approaches to determine the value. And that data and those approaches aren't used in direct proportion. Appraisers will exercise their own individual discretion. And whether that's intentionally or inadvertently, that's how it works. Now, there are 3 different approaches that appraisers will most commonly use to determine a property's value. The first is the comparable sales approach. And this is when you look for similar properties in the area and their recent sales activity. If a house on the same street of a similar size and condition sold last month for $100,000, then the property you're comparing it to has a good shot at selling for the same. This is the most common approach for determining value of single-family residential houses. The second approach is the cost approach. And this is where the appraiser will tally up the current price of the materials, the permits, the time, the labor, everything that it would take to build the property from scratch. And this approach is most commonly used for insurance purposes, but definitely factored into an investor's numbers when a remodel or a rehab is being considered. The third approach is the income approach. And it's here where the appraiser will look at the income a property is producing or can produce and compare that to other income properties in the area. And this is most commonly used for multi-unit or commercial properties. but definitely factored into a single family investor's numbers when considering holding the property as a rental. Now, an appraiser will use one or a combination of these three approaches and weight them differently, as a savvy investor will as well. So again, it's not an exact science. And once you understand that, much of the pressure of getting an exact value is going to just fall off your shoulders and roll right down your back. At the end of the day, the market determines a property's value. Whoever is writing the check trumps all opinions. And since it's you that's considering writing the check, a check that will be cashed by your bank account, it's your opinion that matters most. Here, I'll walk you through how I developed my initial opinion of value. I was looking at this property today, 4478 El Pito Lane in Las Vegas, and I use PropStreamEpic.com. But if you have access to the multiple listing service, you can use that too. But when I type a property address into PropStream Epic, it displays it like this. And I can quickly see the average price of comparable sales based on location and size. But understand, this here is just another opinion of value. It's PropStreamEpic.com's opinion of value. So considering it's me taking on the financial risk, I'd like to dial it in a bit more to formulate my own opinion. Now, if I click here on the details and then on comparables and nearby listings, I'll get a list of comparable properties. And I could look at either public records, MLS data, or both, of which I prefer to do. Then I can dial in the distance from the subject property, the square footage, and then the sale date range. And I typically go 90 days out. Now, because the market determines the value, I only want to see what has actually sold. I want to see validation of the value by confirming someone wrote the check and followed that transaction all the way through to a successful closing. I then search the list for any anomalies, something that sold for far more than the others and or something that sold for far less. If I find any, I'll eliminate those from the equation by unchecking the box. Now, my goal is to get an average of 3 to 5 similar properties that have recently sold. And if I can get more, that's better. If I get less, not really a big deal at this point. I'll dig in deeper for the details after I get into contract. Now, PropStreamEpic.com will automatically average these out for me, as you can see here. And it calculates the price per square foot and the average days on market. And all of that will be good enough for me to put together and present my offer to the seller. Oh, and one thing I'll do just before finalizing this is I'm gonna go check what's actually for sale. I want to look at the comparable properties that are for sale that have not sold. And this is just to confirm that there aren't any properties priced for less than the value that I came up with that aren't selling. Because if there are, that means whatever value I came up with might be too high. If my intent is to resell the property and do it quickly, I want to know what my competition is. I want to know what my property is going to be competing against when it's for sale. Now, after reviewing that, if I don't have to make any adjustments, I can move forward to put my creative offer together for the seller. And I'll show you how to do that in the next session. And again, you'll see links for the complete series below in the description. What'd you notice? What'd you learn? Share with me in the comments. And if you know someone who may find this helpful, please share it with them. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.